The Charlotte Hornets are consistently the worst team in the NBA. They're so bad that I have a hard time imagining that any organization could intentionally put together this many poor seasons. But after 5 years, I'm starting to think that these losses have more to do with their so-called franchise piece. At least more than the typical conversation will lead to when talking about the Hornets. Lamelo Ball, who is supposed to be the cornerstone of this franchise, has been selected to one All-Star team in his 5-year career. And outside of the Rookie of the Year, he's had no other personal accolades and certainly none with the organization. But I will say that a large part has to do with him missing time with injury, but at this point that's just been another issue with him as a player in general. But even when he's on the court, his impact doesn't really go beyond his personal stats, which on the surface look decent, but even when you look deeper, those aren't that impressive either. He's never shot over 40% from 3, never over 50% from the field, hasn't averaged a double-double, hasn't put up over 30 points a game, his defense is poor, and worst of all, the team isn't winning. He's not even individually great at anything besides making some plays that will make a good TikTok video. Of course, these highlight reels might be plays that you won't see from too many other players in the league. Of course, he's a personality and sells tickets and jerseys for the fans. And he can even occasionally put up numbers that will make you second guess why he isn't in the top of the league conversations. But from an organizational view, how is this the player you choose to give $203 million to? Is it because you drafted him? Because you don't care about winning just as long as he sells tickets and brings more eyes? So if we're being real, nothing Lamelo Ball has done in the NBA has led the Hornets to becoming a reasonable team in the Eastern Conference. Now, all of the blame doesn't go straight to Lamelo Ball. The franchise hired a career under 500 coach not once but twice. They've made no significant moves and quite literally gave Ball $200 million in exchange for one winning season. On the other hand, either way you put it, Lamelo Ball is the leader and getting paid superstar money. So the losses and failures on the court have to fall on him, which to me it seems like for the most part Lamelo Ball is actually just fine with losing games as long as he puts up his 20 points and the Hornets keep paying him. With Lamelo, the Hornets have never made the playoffs despite the East being miles weaker than the West, and even as this offensive weapons that I and many others would consider him to be, Ball had a lower offensive rating than D'Angelo Russell, Jose Alvarado, and even his teammate Miles Bridges last season. What he's doing on the court is not translating to success for the Charlotte Hornets and barely for himself. And in these 5 seasons, despite missed time and no true wins, the Hornets still decided it was worth giving Ball a 5-year, $203 million rookie extension. Now, with all that being said, Ball is still only 24 years old and has room for some leadership skills to set in and maybe even mature. But I can't believe that's the risk Charlotte was willing to take when they haven't sniffed the playoffs since 2016. To me, I'm putting the pressure on Ball to have a winning season this year, and if not, then I'm looking at moving on from him in the future. Whether that's improving his impact on the court, showing that he can at least lead the team to a few more wins, or actually make the playoffs, I guess it doesn't matter. But if I were the Hornets, another 20 or less win season, and I'm exploring all options. Especially if the market was open for Luka to be traded, then there's no reason that Ball hasn't been put on the block already. Now, I could be overreacting, but truth be told, I'm not even a Charlotte Hornets fan, and this is starting to get a little ridiculous. But I need you guys to comment down below if you think that I'm right or if you think that I'm overreacting.